Good evening. I'm Gloria, and this is Inception Live podcast. Um, First of all, I'd like to explain I've done this on Open Minds. I now stream only live from YouTube. The link, however, is on the Facebook page. So click on the link, come over to YouTube, and please like and subscribe and support the show. I'm not monetized. I just do it all by myself. So it'd be nice to get some thumbs up on the YouTube channel. And thank you all for the support on Facebook. So I'm sort of trying to shift over to YouTube. This evening, I have a very, very special guest. I watched him on a friend's show recently, and I was blown away by the motivation, just the love that was coming out and the creativity. So then, as I normally do, once I'm connected to them, I stalk their shows. And I have to say, I mean, I'm an artist, as you can tell. I create, videos as well. I watched Joey's trailers into his shows, and I was blown away by his creativity with what he does with media. And I was so jealous. That was my ego, by the way. I wasn't really jealous, but I wish I could do that. Oh my God, oh my God. So I've got to say this guy is absolutely creative. And I've just come off watching him do a live. He does these lives where people come in and ask questions. Do I do it? Not yet. It's not, I don't think I'm brave enough. And he's now live on Inception podcast. Joey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm so excited to be here and dive in deep to whatever topic you're wanting to go down. I appreciate the feedback and the love on the videos and what it is I do. Creativity is a huge part of each of us. Our imaginations are so powerful, and that's really what's creating everything. So, you're saying, oh, I want to be more creative or inspired. If I'm inspiring you to be more creative, more imaginative, to step outside your boundaries, what you perceive as your boundaries, then fantastic. That's what this whole thing's about. One person at a time.
One person at a time. I do love, being an artist myself, I do love seeing creativity in other art forms. I'm on canvas. I do other things, but it doesn't have to be on canvas. What you do with media, and I have made a documentary in the past and things like that. And how you sink it in, that's the creativity that I picked up. It flows, it's streamless. And I got to say, if anything, just watch his trailers every time he has a guest on. And my God, does he have amazing guests. I will be stalking them soon. But watch how he creates his shows. Absolutely awesome. Now, on that note, I'm soon to be a guest on your show. Would you like to, before we go into our chat, the bio is down below, as they say. Would you like to give us a brief bio of you and your show and what it's about, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for allowing me that opportunity there. As far as my bio goes, I am a professional speaker. I'm a life coach. I'm the founder of the Reality Practice Network. And what I really help people do is reprogram trauma through their mind using their imagination. That's my whole purpose, is to teach people that we have this ability within each of us to create and rewrite literally the past any which way we want to see it, because there's no past, there is no future. There's only this moment in time that we're living in. And when we're living in the present moment, we can be whatever we choose and decide to be. But most of us are living in that programmed subconscious mind, and we can't see past the faults of what we're creating. And the fact is, there is no fault in our creation. Everything we're creating is coming from within us, and it's there to learn. It's there to grow. And that's really what my shows are all about. On the Reality Practice Network, I've got 10, 12 different shows, different hosts that have teamed
Yeah.
up with me, and they're bringing different concepts of how we create our reality, different concepts of quantum, of spirituality, of, the truth of who and what we are. And that's really what my whole network is devoted to, is helping to awaken the world one soul at a time to the true power of what we are, which is infinite beings, infinite creators that are literally, we have the power that God instilled and blessed in us to be able to create reality. We're unlike any other species in the universe. We're so sought after. We're so looked down upon in just
We rock.
beauty.
Come on. All of humanity rocks. I always say we are the gods. And
We
we've
are
returned.
the gods, and people are like, "Oh, that's sacrilegious. That's BS bullshit." You're just simply listening to the programming and
Yeah.
the mind control that has been given and that has been laid upon humanity for thousands of years. They don't want us to know our true freaking power, that we have this ability. We are gods, all just playing amongst each other. And if we realize this, we stop fighting with one another and we start creating consciously from love, from compassion, from forgiveness.
I love it. I love it.
Here.
And you know what? That was the segue. And anyone that knows my shows, I don't do professional interviews. I do organic conversations, and we'll interrupt each other all the way through. Because that's, if you're chatting to a friend, that's what you do. Oh yeah. Because your excitement's going, and you want to. So anyone who's not aware of me, how my shows go, that's how I roll. Okay.
And just so you know, your audience knows, I keep notes of everything I've learned as an interviewer and as I've grown over time, to let people share, especially the feminine. The difference between the masculine and feminine is
keep
the
your
masculine
notes.
does not interrupt the feminine when they are in flow. When they're in the middle of a thought, you let that thought go out, because that's the beauty.
Oh, I love you.
The universe playing right there.
I'll tell you what, I wish my 6 children knew that, but never mind. Me personally, whether I'm teaching in my groups or I'm a guest on a show or I'm the host of the show, I basically will not really remember much about what I've said or anything. I have to go back and watch it. But apart from that,
I feel you there. I know,
I'm telling you,
when I'm on stage, I get off stage and I'm literally like, I have no idea what the hell I just talked about for 30 straight minutes.
I mean, I must admit, sometimes the identity comes in, and I can be an arsehole, and I love to have fun being an arsehole. It's fun. You've got to lighten it up now and again, But I was going to say, you kicked us into the segue. We've titled together, we jointly titled our chat, "The Story We Tell Ourselves." Now, out there in the big wide world, as we call it, there's many schools of thoughts and perceptions. Some are collective schools of thought. For me, I'm always interested in the individual being's perception of their understanding of what does it mean, the story we tell ourselves. And so I'm coming at you with a very easy question to kick off. The story we tell ourselves, could you expand upon that? What does it mean?
I'd love to. And that's really the essence of everything, is the stories we tell ourselves are in fact the obstacles that imprison us from reaching our true potential. We all are programmed from the time of birth. And if we want to get into past lives, that's a whole nother topic. But let's just take this specific incarnation right now that we're living. The only identity we have is of the past and the stories we're telling ourselves of the past. And like I said earlier at the beginning, there is no past. We can't live in it, just like there is no future. We can't live in it. There's only right here, right now, in this physical 3D realm. So unfortunately, the sad fact is the majority of the population is living in the stories that they tell themselves and the stories they've been programmed to believe about who and what they are. And it disempowers us. It limits us. It keeps us from achieving our true success, from finding our true potential and our purpose and mission in life. And for me, that's the whole point of what I share with people. And I share my story to help people awaken to this realization of how powerful the stories are that we tell ourselves. For me, my story began at birth. I was abandoned by my biological father at birth. At an early age, sometime around 10, 11 years old, I experienced sexual trauma and abuse. I developed Tourette's syndrome at the age of 12, 13, right about puberty. All of these things piling up led me down a path of alcohol, drugs, addictions of every sort, right? I was addicted to sexual addictions, drug addictions, alcohol addictions. I lived my whole 20s just having fun, but really no purpose, no idea. I was just going through the motions. I was living the life that I believed I was supposed to live based on the stories of who I thought I was. I was an abandoned man alcoholic. So obviously I was supposed to be an alcoholic. He womanized, cheated on my mom. Obviously, I'm supposed to be that sort of a guy. That's my DNA. That's who I was. That's who I was supposed to be. So fast forward to 28, I get married, have my first child. We have a second one. We end up going through a terrible, terrible divorce. And that lasted a couple years. And through that process, I started to discover that there was more to everything, that there was more to life. And I met my wife. We started our own business together. And that's when we dove into self-help and business development. All of we just kind of about 2014, 2015, we just started deciding we were going to change. And how do we change? You have to take action. We started listening to things, reading books, going to conferences, so on. So that growth began for me then. And all the while, though, I'm still living with this mindset of the stories I told myself about who I was supposed to be. Well, my story really took a 180 at the age of 40, which was in 2020. I'm sure many of your listeners, we all had stories of that year. That's when our world was literally turned upside down and has never been the same since. For me, I had my first spiritual, I say it was the first time I talked to God. He came and spoke to me, and it was in February, just before all hell broke loose in the world. And we were down to our last $200 to our name. My wife's business just came out of her busy season over the holidays. So she's got no money coming in. I'm a door-to-door salesman selling solar in Kansas City, which is a new industry here. So nobody wants what I'm buying. And it's winter time, so I can't go, walking through 12 inches of snow, knocking on doors. So lo and behold, Kansas, if you've ever been to Kansas, the weather changes, give it 30 minutes. So one day I wake up on, the last few days before the end of the month, and it was like 60 degrees one morning in February. I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. I'm going to go out for a jog. So I go out for a jog. I blow my knee out. I've had 3 knee surgeries prior to this, so I knew exactly what I did. I blew my ACL. I was screwed. The next day I wake up. I can't walk. I can't put pressure on it. All the while, my wife's in New York City with her family, her mom and sister, and then for her birthday. So it's just me here alone with our dog. And I have to hop to the couch where I lay down on the couch. I'm looking at my knee, got a big thing of ice on it. And before this, probably the 6 months leading up to this, I'd been doing a lot of spiritual work. I'd started to understand meditation and aligning myself properly, right? So I'm going through all this work and I'm learning more and more. And this happens to me. And I got so angry. I got pissed. I yelled out at God, like, what the F? How
you
does
can
this
swear
work?
on my show. You can swear. It's my
All
show.
right, well, good. What the fuck is this? I am doing everything correct as far as I'm understanding it. Yet you keep shitting on me. We're broke. You just blew my knee out. I can't I can't do my job. I can't provide for my family. I lose it. I'm in tears. I'm so angry. And all I had was this voice inside of me that just said, go within, calm down, relax, meditate. So I calm myself and I do that. And that meditation was unlike any meditation I'd ever had. That was the first time I ever got a vision. And I was shown the future, the near future, a few months down the road. And what seemed so bleak at that moment was actually such a blessing, because I saw my wife's business shaping into something entirely different that didn't even exist at the moment. But I had this vision of what it would be. And I saw the future, and all I was told was, it's all going to be okay. Let go, trust in me, and you will be okay. I will take care of you. And I had this feeling, this overwhelming feeling of just such love and safety and security, like, oh my God. Because I saw the end. I saw the money problems going away. I saw all these things happening, and it was just like a download. And I even got up, I made a video of it, at the moment, because I didn't want to forget what had just happened to me, because I didn't know how impactful it would actually be. So fast forward, lockdowns happen. My wife's business is completely out of commission because she was all events based. So if she couldn't do events, it's like, now we're really screwed. But I talked to her that night on the phone. She was crying in tears because of our situation. And after I'd had my vision, all I kept telling her was, it's going to be okay, baby. I saw the future. I was told what's coming. Everything's going to be all right. Just trust me. And she doesn't understand what that means. She does now. But then she didn't. So move forward. All the things happen, lockdowns, all of this. And I was shown how all this played out. So as each new phase, each new thing's happening, I'm just laughing. I'm sitting back. I was literally enjoying the ride because I knew how it all plays out. I know that God wins in the end, and we're all good to go here. So the money comes in. She creates this new product. And within like a week of creating it, 2 weeks of creating it, it goes viral and gets picked up by BuzzFeed as one of the top Mother's Day gifts for 2020. And that just exploded everything. And just the pieces started coming together. And what I had learned to do at that point in time was I started realizing the power of our imagination. I started realizing how we create our reality. And I started meditating and really going in and envisioning the reality I wanted to see happen. And half of it was me doing it. The other half was spirit, was the connection showing me things. And what started happening to me through this process was insane. And I wouldn't have believed it had it not happened to me. But I'm literally at the point where I'm creating things that I'm seeing in my meditations are happening and playing themselves out, sometimes in a week or two's time frame. Other times they're playing themselves out literally within an hour. Like for instance, I'd be meditating at 7 a.m. and I'd see a vision of a meeting I was to have with our employees a couple hours later. And then I'd be sitting in that meeting, just sitting back, in the exact conversation, word for word, that I had in my mind during my meditation is literally playing itself out in front of me. And I'm just sitting here like, holy shit, what is happening? This is freaking cool. Well, that was awesome. But I will say that there is tapping into that power has to be done responsibly, and it has to be done knowing that you have to protect yourself. What happened to me, I kept doing this and I kept creating more and more, and to the point where I think I manifested in the last 2 years like over $400,000 from out of thin air, right? I mean, just poof, shit, it was coming in, 20 grand here, 50 grand there, it was insane. Well, as I'm creating more and more, I'm not understanding the power of what's actually happening. And that was when I was attacked energetically in August. I had a spirit, try to get in, and it physically beat me up. I was doing a morning meditation, like I do every morning. And I started it off with breath work. And it was simply a 15-second, I'd breathe in and I'd hold for 15 seconds and I'd exhale. And I'd do that like 6 times before I start my meditation. Well, this one morning, and it was really strange, I journaled about it. It was like I believe I was kind of in 2 interdimensional planes of reality. If, I know that makes sense to you. You know, that whole morning was like a blur. I didn't really remember much of it. And it was almost like I was just floating around. I'm here, I'm there. And well, for whatever reason, whatever happened, I go and I do my first breath in and hold. And as I exhale, that's the last thing I remembered until I woke up on the floor, holding my head and my face like this in the most extreme, the loudest sound I'd ever heard in my life was blasting into my head. And it was so painful. I'm on the floor in a ball holding my face like this. And when it finally subsides after about 20 seconds, I kind of come back to like, what the hell was that? But I feel something on my face. So I go look in the mirror. I literally dug into my face and cut my face all through here. And there's just blood streaming down. And it was at that moment, my wife comes running up. She was in the basement working, goes, what the hell just happened? And I look at her and she's like, oh my God. I go, I don't know what just happened. I go, what happened? What did you hear? And she said, it sounded literally like a Mack truck ran into the side of our house and the entire house shook. Like a piece of huge furniture had collapsed, had gotten thrown down, and it shook the entire house. And all I did was fall literally onto the floor, onto the carpet at the foot of my bed, and was sitting there in a ball. So obviously it wasn't me. Like I didn't have enough force to make the house shake, but this is what happened. And it freaked me out. I went to a friend of mine here who I've gone to multiple times. She's a healer and channeler and everything, and intuitive artist. And she told me exactly what happened. Was I opened myself up to the energies out there and the spirits out there, but I wasn't protecting myself when I was going into those realms. And apparently a negative entity attempted to try and get in and attack me physically. And I repelled it out, I guess, at that moment, but it freaked me out for a couple months. It really set me back in my meditations and in my journey, because while I'd been given at that point a way to protect myself and to cleanse everything, I was still apprehensive. It scared me because whatever hit me, it came in like a freight train and it kicked my ass. And
I'm gonna jump in there. I want to touch for anyone in the audience listening. How can I phrase this in a way? First of all, I'm going to ask you, did this event that you experienced with this energy, did you ultimately find that it resolved in a positive conscious expansion after?
Yes. The purpose, it happened to me for a purpose. Everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to. But what it told me was basically we're all sorcerers. We are all sorcerers, and we all have this magical power to create. We need to
be a bit more responsible.
Correct. I didn't know the power I had tapped into, and I didn't know what I was capable of. I believed I was capable of these things, but I truly didn't know. And that was the universe telling me to slow down.
Absolutely.
Take a step back. Which I did for a couple months. And I kind of redove back into the basics and relearned a lot of those things on how to do this responsibly, because that's the end of the day. It's about consciously creating responsibly through love. Because if we create through our subconscious mind right now, we'll blow the freaking world up in literally 5 minutes. That's our goal for everyone, I think.
I have, and I'm always in all my shows, I use analogies. It's the best way to share, because there's multiple perceptions out there. So it's one way is not going to resonate with others. But I have some groups where I teach, and one is for the experiences of contact, like myself, and the most recent analogy is, as everything's shifting. I said, right, we're now in the Harry School of Potter, the Harry School Potter of Magic, or whatever you call it. We've all got our wands. You've got to be responsible. And because what you speak, your thought, the vibration, it's alchemical, it's alchemy. And you are going to, what you put out is coming back. And it's at this time, if you're unconsciously not aware what's coming out your mouth, thought is not too bad, because I also say to the universe, erase that 3-second rule. But if it's coming out and it's got intention and it's got power, within an hour, it could be back at you. And so that made me laugh. And I was laughing because that's what I teach. That, so, in the group and that, everyone's, before they open their mouth, they're coming out with slightly different linguistics and the intention, and it's made them become individually more responsible for their thoughts, their actions, if they do react, even their reactions, where they catch them in time. So I so resonate with that, because many people have said about, sometimes you need to have what you perceive to be a negative experience. I mean, it's a polarity of, you've got to have it. But that is a shocker, just to go, boom, oh, fuck, I've messed up. What's going on? And otherwise, you're not going to, if you're not paying attention, it's going to come. It's going to come. But there's multiple roads and there's multiple ways to do this. And that's why I love my show, because people come on and they're all different. It's so diverse and exciting. I think it's funny. We've all got our stories for this. I mean, I love how you portrayed the idea you had about yourself. I mean, it's something for me, when I talk about, I used to be a victim. I won Oscars playing the role as a victim. I won BAFTAs, Oscars. You couldn't beat me as the ego victim, So when I laugh, it's laughing at the role I played, so to speak.
I call that having compassion for ourselves, for forgetting the illusion that we're in.
I mean,
that's all it really is.
It gets to that. I mean, when you do the work on yourself, I mean, the idea, from the way I resonate with everything you just said, but the way I love how we're all going to articulate this different. For myself, the idea I have about myself, I come from a juxtaposition. It's labels I'm still using. It's from the juxtaposition is I consciousness, there's consciousness and the identity that I'm playing. So I can operate from either one now. I can play the game or just become the one. So you don't lose your identity. You actually don't lose your ego. Your ego is not bad. It's your best mate, because without the ego, you wouldn't have had a human experience, and it merges into one. I liked how when you raised the point, you didn't know how to protect yourself. You didn't know this. It's about, and the unconscious, it's about doing the work within. I like that. So the idea I had about myself, I do a brief one of me. I was a mother of 6. I was divorced. I was this. I was that. I was boom, boom, boom. ET, abduction. All of these were, and in fact, through the decades, I had multiple personality disorder. I had so many ideas, and they all have to come out. They all have to come out. And people say, well, how do you not judge? And how do you just love? And how do you feel? It's the only way is doing the work on yourself. You start inside. That's me. So when you have an idea about yourself, it's from external, as you rightly said. So your parents named you, they told you were this, that, your school told you that, your society, your culture, your religion, your state, your country. They told you, you so perfectly and eloquently expressed it. You were being as they told you should be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I say, people should question. And I use the word people very lightly for the conversation of the audience. Question who you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by questioning who you think you are, that then opens the door for you to, I call it a process of self-realization. That's what I call it. And doing what you do, I mean, as a motivational speaker, as you're motivating others, you're also motivating yourself. It's in a loop. It comes back.
Oh, yeah.
Back. Does that resonate with you?
100%. You know, we can't help others until we help ourselves. Number one, we have to heal ourselves, be it from the traumas that we remember of the past or the traumas that we've hidden from the past. We've all got trauma. And that kind of leads perfectly into the next phase of my story here and builds on what you're talking about. You know, awareness. I say awareness is our superpower. And when we're aware of things, when we're able to go back in and heal the things that we're here to learn from, the reason we came here is to have certain triggers, certain things that we need to overcome in order to evolve into the next phase. And it's a never-ending game of just figure this out, move on to the next level, figure this out, move on to the next level. And as you start to go within, as you start to heal yourself, your purpose and your mission starts to be revealed to you, because you can't fulfill your true purpose, your destiny, your mission, unless you clear out this baggage, unless you get rid of and heal from the bullshit, the false stories of our past. And they're simply there to keep us held back and test us. It's called a shit test. They're there to shit test us. Have we learned from it? Have we grown from it? Because I'm not going to give you your next step. I'm not going to give you the next lesson until you fix this one and you overcome that one. So how do we find our true purpose? How do we start living our destiny? We have to first heal from the bullshit and the lies that we've told ourselves of the past, of who we believe we are. And then it all starts to come together like pieces of a puzzle. I was shown in the summer of 2020, I was shown the end as far as where I was going. I was to be on stages. I kept getting this constant vision during meditation of me on a stage in front of thousands of people, and I'm inspiring them. And I'd even see myself out in the hallway, like backstage, like talking to a group of 10 people and just working with them and answering questions. And I didn't know, all I was given was the end, but I didn't know the steps to get there. Right. So what I've discovered is keep working, keep going within, and those pieces start to get filled in. You know, a couple months later, I'd get another little piece of the puzzle. And then a couple months later, I'd get another little piece. And that would kind of send me on my next path. It's like, okay, now I need to work on this. Now I need to head in this direction. But it all kind of built up to December of 2020. I attended a 6-day conference at Tony Robbins as life mastery. It wasn't life mastery. It was Date with Destiny. I went to Tony Robbins' event, and it was at that event that it changed my life and rewrote my entire past in unbelievable ways. And that's kind of the story that I tell people from stage. That's the story I share with people, that we can overcome anything that we believe is in our past. Because like I said, I was abandoned by my father at birth. I experienced sexual trauma at an early age. I had all these things happen to me and who I thought I was. Well, at this event, the first day, we do a lot of focusing on remembering our past and what was that one trigger? What was that one thing that we're blaming ourselves for? And I realized my whole life I'd been blaming myself for my dad leaving at birth, for my abandonment issues, right? A lot of us have abandonment issues. Well, I was allowing it to control my life. I was allowing it to write the story of my life. So on day 2, I wake up committed to writing a letter to my biological father, who I hadn't seen in 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to forgive him because I realized it was only my story that I was telling myself. It had my life and how it had turned out to that point had nothing to do with him. It
Mm-hmm.
only had to do with the stories and the lies I'd been telling myself
Mm-hmm.
about that experience
Mm-hmm.
that was creating my identity.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to write this letter to him and I get one sentence in and I just lose it. Just this profound wisdom's coming over me in this healing. And I cried for an hour straight.
Mm-hmm.
And after I was done crying, I kind of regathered myself and I looked down at the letter I'd gotten ready to write. And I go, I don't even need to write this now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I completely cleansed my soul of this trauma and this blame. I accepted it all. And I saw that it all happened exactly the way it had to happen. So we move along in the week and we do this past or early childhood regression meditation. And that's where everything changed for me. I went back to a moment I didn't ever remember. And I was 5 years old. And I asked my mom all about it afterwards. And I went back to this 5-year-old memory of me and my mom traveling down to Texas to go see my dad, who I hadn't seen in 5 years. And we were told, put ourselves in your mind of that child. What was he thinking right before the event happened, And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so excited. I get to go see my dad. I'm going to be normal like the other kids. He's going to come home. We're going to have a family. This is going to be amazing. He's going to love me. And then it hit me. All of that stress, all of that fear. It's like, oh no, but what if he doesn't love me? What if I'm not good enough for him? What if I disappoint him? What if I let him down and let my mom down? And now she suffers, I suffer. All these thoughts start racing through my mind. And it's at that moment I realize, wow, what a mind fuck. I'm 5 years old and I have I have this feeling of responsibility. Like I can control him to come home and, be a dad. Yeah. And I started to kind of laugh at myself in this meditation. Like, what were you thinking? Have compassion for yourself. You didn't do any of that. You couldn't have possibly controlled it. So then we went into the mind of the other person involved. And I went into my mom's mind. And it was at that point, I could feel her fear and her pain. And I truly was in her body. And I could understand how scared she was. She only wanted to give me a father. She just wanted me to be loved. She wanted to be loved. But this man had hurt her so bad and abandoned her. She didn't know what the hell else to do. But she thought, well, maybe we'll go down there and maybe we can repair everything and start it over again. But at the end of the day, that's not what she wanted. She even told me afterwards, she's like, I don't even know why we went down there, to be honest. And I'm like, well, I know why you went down there. You were wanting to give me something more. You were wanting to do something for you more. And I started to feel this compassion and this forgiveness that I'd never felt before when I saw through her eyes what she was feeling and through my eyes. Right. And then we're asked if there was another person, a third person, go into that person's mind, see what they saw. And I get transported into my dad's mind. And I felt his fear. And he didn't want any part of that. He's like, I came to Texas to escape the responsibilities of being a husband and a father. And now you're here on my doorstep. And this isn't what I want. So I could sense his fear. I could sense his stress of the whole situation. And I felt this overwhelming compassion and forgiveness again for him, because I started to see everything through everyone else's eyes and feel what they were feeling. And it changed me so profoundly in that moment that I come out of that meditation and I'm just like, everything's amazing. Like it was all just a story. It was all my own projection of what I thought it should be, when in actuality, everything happened exactly the way it had to happen for me to be here right now, experiencing this, right? So it took me a few days once the event ended to get the courage up to call my mom. because I wanted to tell her how much I loved her, but I wanted to forgive her for all of the bullshit I put on her. You know, all of the things I thought about who I was because of her, whatever she had done, you know, and she's crying throughout this whole conversation. She's crying, saying she wished she would have been harder on me. You know, she would have done things different. I go, Mom, you did everything exactly the way it had to happen. Keep in mind, I attempted suicide first at 21 and then a couple more times in my early 30s, you know, almost did it. So I had anxiety issues, depression, all my life. I suffered from these issues, and I wasn't prepared back then to find out what I was getting ready to find out, which was the most amazing part of the whole story, my whole journey. But it was at that moment she's saying, I wish I would have been a little harder. I wish I would have done this or done that. And I just reassured her and said, Mom, I love you. You did everything so amazingly right. And I'm so grateful for my life and where I'm at and the man I've become because of it. I'm like, thank you. I love you so much. And she's crying. And it's at that moment that she says, honey, I need to tell you something. I've got a secret I've been keeping from you for 40 years. I need to tell you it. I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm like, I'm on top of the world. Nothing can faze me. So go for it. What is it, Mom? And she says, only 4 people in the world know of this. My biological father, my stepfather, my uncle who had just passed the year before, and my mom. And they had all agreed to take this to their grave with them. And she goes on to tell me, Joey, Robert, my biological father, says, Robert, he's not your father. Like, wait, what'd you just say, Mom? Did I hear you right?
Whoa!
Did you just say the guy I blamed my life for 40 years on, who I just spent the last week healing from and forgiving and doing all this work to overcome this perception of who I thought I was? Now you're laying this on me that he wasn't even my real father. Therefore, the whole story I'd been telling myself for 40 years was a complete and total freaking lie. And she just drops this on me, and Mom just like, but I'm excited. If she would have told me this 10 years ago when I was still having my old way of thinking, it probably would have broke me. It probably would have sent me down a spiral I might not have come out of. But because I'd done the healing, because I was ready, I brought this into my reality. And what happened from it, she goes on to tell me, she wanted a child so bad, but Robert, he wasn't able to have children. So she went to every extreme. She even went as far as reaching out to the Colombian embassy to see about adopting an orphan child from Colombia. And I stopped her. I go, wait a minute, Mom, wait. Are you telling me that the reason I get so tan in the summertime and I'm the only one with bright blue eyes in my family, you know, I'm like, are you telling me I'm Colombian and you've been lying to me this whole time? And she's crying. She says, no, honey, no, you aren't Colombian. She goes, the truth of the matter is she worked at a hospital in Kansas City. And at that point, back in 1978, they were doing an experimental procedure called in vitro fertilization. And she says, your real father was a med student at the hospital who later became a doctor at that hospital. And they went in, signed all the confidentiality paperwork, and the rest is history. I mean, it doesn't surprise me why my perceived father at birth abandoned me. I wasn't even his son. He was just the guy that married my mom first, right? He was my mom's first husband. That's all he ever was. Meanwhile, I'd spent 40 years blaming him for my shit. And he was just a guy, right? So it was at that moment when she told me this, my world changed. Everything about it changed. My entire past was rewritten. My entire future was rewritten. I rewrote the future for my mom. I unleashed her from 40 years of lies that she'd been having to deal with. And I unleashed my boys. I've got 2 young boys who are teenagers now that no longer have to live in the idea of what their biology was, right? They weren't, their grandfather wasn't this guy. In actuality, their grandfather was a doctor, a wise healer, right? And I opened this whole new reality, this whole new door of existence by rewriting my past. And I did it through compassion, through forgiveness, and through love. And by going back in, healing myself, and truly seeing everything that happened as it had to happen that way. And I had to love each person involved with it. And I had to have compassion for them. And I had to forgive them for what I believe they did to me. And the second I did all of that, it gave me this amazing godlike power to literally rewrite everything. I went back in time and rewrote my biological DNA, and I'm now the son of a doctor. And the rest is history.
I mean, it's you know, you got to look at that. I mean, me coming from externally, from my perception is, it gives a greater understanding as why you do motivational speaking with trauma, because, you know, you had gone through this experience of perceived traumas and you thought they were real. And then you thought, oh, I've healed them. They were that important. But then still, no, it wasn't even like that. It was this. It shows you how the coming from my truth. I won't go too detailed on my truth, but shows you how the illusion is fractalized and it's got depth. There's layers after layers. And people say, oh, I've healed. And I'm going, shit's about to hit the fan. That's your ego. Your identity is still there going, I've healed. No.
Our ego wants to believe we're healed because the healing is hard work. You know, the healing is the most rewarding thing we could ever experience. And looking back on it, it's not hard at all. But it's
always looking back on it. I mean, hold your horses there. It is always, and I always say hindsight's a bitch for those that are coming into it. And I remember decades ago when I was coming into it, and it was Alan Watts and the likes of that, and it was Jane Roberts, Seth material, and I was coming into it going, why are they saying it's so easy? And I remember I was that. So I change my wording so much now and try and find easier analogies to show that it's possible. But at the time, it was a bitch. I always say to people, you know, some people say, I had this dark night of the soul. I say, fuck you. I had decades of the dark night of the fucking soul.
I lived in it for 40 fucking years.
It's going on. I mean, and obviously there's no more dark nights of the soul, but we're forever expanding. I mean, you know, and we still have to keep doing the work. If ever you think you've done it, you need to do a reality check and go back in.
Absolutely. It's always a reassessing.
You've got to be vigilant, because what will happen, consciousness, universe, whatever you choose to name this illusion, will bring something hidden somewhere that you are not even consciously aware of, and you go, where the fuck did that come from? And your buttons are pressed, and you go, ooh, and you know, so it does. I mean, when I hear other people's, I use the word lightly, people, I'm just staying on this timeline, experiences of how they've worked through this to come to where they are today. They're similar, but so diverse. It is, for me to hear it, it's beautiful. I love every guest that comes on, because I resonate. I went a different path, as it should be, but I so resonate. And then I totally now with you, the backstory of your experience is understand why you're motivational, and you go out there and you're helping others heal trauma. Because you trained in that. That was your training.
I came here to experience a life of trauma on purpose. During my forgetting process, I forgot that that's why I came here. But as those glimpses, those visions were given to me of what I was supposed to become, of where I was headed, and they didn't make sense to me and I couldn't put the pieces of the puzzle together because I only had the outside border, but I didn't have the inside.
I hear you.
So,
I've got to, hang on, I've got to jump in here. I'm being asked, everyone knows who on my show, I will interrupt my guests. I will jump in with deep, deep, deep questions, and then I will share some of my experiences. The reason I'm not sharing much and I'm keeping quiet this evening is because I'm on Joey's show tomorrow. He's recording me, so I'm pulling it back because he's going to ask me questions tomorrow. So for those that are messaging and asking, Gloria, what are you doing? Why are you so quiet? You don't shut the fuck up. It's because I'm on Joey, and it would be unfair to Joey, okay, that he wouldn't get an organic conversation with me. So I just want to throw that out there. Anyone listening going, what's she doing? Because they're confused.com. Because I normally make my guests live go here, 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 here. And Joey, I am going to come in now, though. With where you are now on your journey, we've got that. We understand that. I want to now, on the last part of the show, touch upon, I am a contactee, lifelong. It still goes on constantly, daily. You made me aware when we had a private chat, video call, you've had contact. I would like, because I think this is also, for my truth, you don't have to agree, I think this is also a critical part of the journey as well. Would you share on the last part of the show your experience with contact, please?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. That was one of the main things I was excited to talk to you about coming on your show, just because I know how deep you are into it. The whole contact, abductee, secret space program, all of the truth that's out there that's been hidden from us in this veil. I just literally this past week, I did a course with David Rodriguez, a recall course on, I'm trying to go back now and awaken those memories that have been suppressed, that have been erased, because to my understanding, if you have a abductee experience, if you have a contact experience, it's not isolated. It's been happening to you your entire life many times. It's erased from us. They have the ability to, like Men in Black, they zap you and poof, it's all gone. The worst traumas you could ever experience. That's another reason why I'm so in tune with trauma, because I'm trying to awaken what's truly happened to me. The stories I've told myself and the stories I've believed are only the physical 3D realm that I'm discovering and that I'm remembering. It's the deeper ones that I really want to dive into and unlock, because I truly believe I was possibly one of the 20 and back. I've been in the 20 and back program, like Corey Good and David Wilcox, and those guys have talked about, and David Rodriguez. I haven't been able to unlock enough of it yet to remember, but apparently we all have that ability to unlock it and to recall those memories. So I'm just starting that process now because I'm ready to. I think there were still a lot of past thoughts, subconscious beliefs, whatnot, that I needed to heal from before I was ready for the next phase. And I feel like the next phase is unlocking what's truly happened to me and where I've been and the amazing ride I've actually been on. And I'll start with, I always had this feeling growing up that I was terrified of looking out the window at night. I'm in my room sleeping, and I'm on the top floor, the only room up on the top floor. My window's right there. And I don't know how many nights I was terrified to get out of bed, to go to the bathroom. I mean, I would put the cover over my eyes and just lie there. I mean, I was still at the age of 12, I believe. I was still sneaking into my parents' room, crawling on the floor and waking my mom up, tapping her on the shoulder, and she'd wake up to me right there in her face like, "Mom, I'm scared. Can I sleep with you? So I'd hop in bed with them, 12 years old, I think. But I always had this sense that I was afraid at night, like something was coming to get me. And the only memory of it I have happened in, I think it was 2016. My wife was there with me, and I went to sleep. We went to sleep that night like normal, and she awoke to finding me on the bedroom floor at the foot of our bed, screaming at the top of my lungs, blood curdles, like I'm being killed.
Yeah.
Fear. And she turns the lights on. What the hell's going on? Are you okay? And it was at that moment she goes, oh my God, what happened? And I'm like, trying to come back to, like, what, where the fuck am I? Why am I on the floor? And I look down, and I've got a as black as my microphone here, circular bruise this big on my inner thigh, about 10 inches in diameter, that just instant impact happened. And she goes, oh my God, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't know what just happened. Now, granted, we had a bed with bedposts that were about 5 feet in the air, and it had a circular ball on top of it. So my logical brain tells me I sleptwalked. I got up. I somehow bounced on the bed. Let's go back to the fact, though, that my wife is the lightest sleeper in the world. If I breathe too heavy, she wakes up.
I'm sure if you bounced, hold on, I'm sure if you were bouncing on the bed in the middle of the night, I know what I would do. I mean, you'd get one in the face.
Yes.
Yeah.
She would not have been happy if I was bouncing on the bed, let alone if I just shifted abruptly.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
The idea that I could have bounced off of the bed high enough up to land on top of that bedpost with enough force to cause that bruise is literally impossible. I even went, and I'll explain what happened, but I even went to the emergency room the day after I had injured myself in a different event unrelated to this. So I'm in there, and they're looking at my hand and everything. And before the doctor leaves, I go, Doc, can I show you something else that I'm concerned about? And he goes, yeah, what is it? I pull my pants down and I show him this bruise, and he's literally like, what the hell happened? How did you do that? And I explained to my logical thinking, well, apparently I bounced on the bed, sleepwalking, landed on top of that post, and it bruised me. And he looked at it and looked at me and goes, I can't medically explain how you could possibly have such a deep trauma bruise like that. He's like, physically, you could not have done that by jumping on the bed and hitting it. Like, it would have taken such severe blunt force trauma that he's like, I can't explain it. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, okay, well, I thought I'd try, you know? So what I experienced through all of this, I had woken up on a spaceship, and I was in a long, dimly lit metal, steel, gray hallway, and I'm in fear. It's like I'm running from something, and I'm running down the hallway, and I find a small little, like 3 foot, like panel door down on the bottom of the hallway, and it's open. So I'm like, there, I can escape through there. And I crawl through it, and the door closes behind me. And what I come into, it's like a big courtyard, and it's a metal walls, probably about 20 to 30 feet high, and maybe 30 foot by 30 foot square. And I'm in this dark room, like, where the hell am I now? And I look up, and I'm literally looking at the earth. I'm seeing the earth above me. So I realize I'm on a spaceship. I've gone outside this door, and now I'm in a courtyard that's open, and I can see all of the earth down below. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is insane. I'm having a hell of a dream, right? And then the floor starts moving and it starts going up like this. And what's happening is some sort of a satellite or something is coming out and opening up. Well, the problem is, if this is a wall, I'm stuck here in between the floor coming up like this and the wall. So it's literally getting ready to squash me like a bug in between the wall if this opens up all the way. And I realize I can't get up over it. I can't jump high enough to get out of the walls because they're 20, 30 foot high. So all I can do is when I start screaming at the top of my lungs, just blood curdling, help me, I'm going to die. I'm going to get squashed. I'm like, please. And I'm jumping as high as I can jump and nothing's happening. I mean, nobody's coming to save me. And I'm just on the verge of getting smashed and crushed. And it's at that moment I come crashing through the ceiling, fall on the bedpost, wake up on the floor. And the only explanation I have for it is I obviously got loose from wherever I was at, running, tried to escape, went through this door, got stuck outside. In the process of getting squashed, they obviously realized, whoever had abducted me, realized, holy shit, he's getting ready to get squashed. How are we going to explain this? We can't have him die here. We got to send him back. And somehow they hit some kind of button or whatever and instantly just poof, shot me through a portal, which opened up above my ceiling of our bedroom. And instead of gently putting me back to sleep in my bed where they would normally put me, they had to like pulling the ejection hatch on an airplane, on a fighter jet. They're like, shit, abort, hit the button. And it literally just went and shot me through, opened me up through a portal. Bam, I come crashing down on it. And it caused that blunt force trauma to my thigh, which the doctor could not physically explain through his medical, knowledge. So at that point, I've gone back through that many times, but I can't open up to what happened prior to me going out that door. Like I'm trying to recall and regress. What was I running from? Where was I at prior to getting in that hallway running? And what kind of trauma was happening to me at that moment that made me so fearful? And at the same time, was I just not awake at that point to who I was? And I was just terrified? Or was I being experimented on? Was I being subject to something, more traumatic? And I was literally running fearfully, or was I just kind of waking up and not remembering? So I kind of had a freak out at that moment. And they're like, oh shit, he's running off. We need to stop him. I don't really know. I want to find out more about it. But
I mean,
as they say, there's no isolated incidents. Like if you have one, you've had many. I just don't recall them.
No, that's fine. I mean, obviously, this is the work I do with experiences in the group. So I can't put any preconceived ideas in anyone that shares an experience. It's for yourself. You're going to work it out, whatever way you work it out. I mean, the only thing I would suggest, without influencing your experience, because I can only speak from my personal truth, which is not yours, is the perception you've just relayed in this, a really, explicit narrative, which was really, really good. And as you're doing it, I'm getting it. And next time you relay this to yourself, now listen carefully or listen with the inner ear. You have already this story, okay? The story you're telling yourself on this one. And that's not a negative, that's a real positive. A shift in your perception of, even if it was, what if I could perceive it differently? Like you've already done with all past experiences. I've got to be cautious here because it's your experience, it's not mine. One thing that's from my truth, and not everyone has this truth, so that's separate, that's you personally. But for me, with my experiences, I do not, and have just, it's my journey. I have no if what I don't recall, I don't seek after. Never. What I do recall is enough. So, but that's for me, that works for my beingness. My beingness is experiencing it. Let me just backtail it slightly to anyone in the audience. They know my analogies. I have an orange. I'm going to cut the orange in half. I'm giving half to you, and I'm going to have half. We are both eating the orange. We're both experiencing eating the orange. However, we'll experience it differently. So your truth is valid and my truth is valid. So that's why I won't go into greater detail, because I cannot give my truth to your experience, because I'm not experiencing what you experience. However, I can say one thing. The story you've just narrated to me, which is really fascinating, and I love it. And I can't wait to you, if and when you ever have a different version of it, different perception. Could I view this experience differently? And you may say, no, I fucking can't. It was just fucking traumatic and I'm going to keep going in. It doesn't matter, even if it matters.
I agree with you completely. Like I was just, the thought when I went through that story just now with you, which I'd never looked at from that point of view, but the thought was I really in danger? Was I really in a traumatic experience, or was I in a place where maybe I was up there working with them? Maybe I was doing whatever I was supposed to be doing up there. And for whatever reason, I had a momentary glitch where I went back, I forgot who I was. And
I've got to zip it. I've got to zip it. I've got to zip it. It's just, I can say one more thing. Okay. There is something, you may have heard it or you may have not, and it's called screen memory. And
screen
memory.
Yeah, screen memory.
Many contactees talk about or have an awareness that what you perceive is not actually what's there. It's like a screen memory. Like, I'm going to divert away from you personally, which I cannot go in. It's like many other experiences have said to me, in this experience, this being come, and it looked like a cat or it looked like an owl. Well, everyone knows if you got an owl, you've got a grey. They've been with me forever. But then they didn't realize that was a screen memory. They'll come in and whatever you're able to resonate with, that won't frighten you too much or something like that. But then later on, as you work on it and your perception changes, you don't really want to see the beings at the beginning. You wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to exist. Their frequency is of such, physically, the physical consciousness, the cells need to oscillate and raise up before you can even get there. But there's screen memory. On your one, you're catching it. You've got a perception of the experience. Now, you're well versed in past trauma experiences and how you change them. I'm just gonna, because I've got to get off this topic because it's coming in.
You go with it. I'm not gonna stop you.
No. You shift your perception. Wayne Dyer 101. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at
change that look, or change.
Yeah, I mean that would have to sit with you. So there is something that is perceiving in you trauma still. And you know what I can say, the guys are in. What I can say is there's the unknown aspect of any experience we have on earth. Like, you know, if the light at night, I mean, I was another one that didn't like the night. You know, like the lights are off and it's dark, because it's unknown. It's fear-based. So if someone went boo, you go, oh fuck, heart attack. I mean, you know, it's these experiences when the being, which you are being, when the being starts to work on this, because you've worked on the human, we're always going to work on the human, by the way, it's never ended, right. But you've done the major work on deconstructing, you know, the identity. And then as you expand out, the expansion of consciousness is then you have, everyone's had connections with, I call them energy personalities now. I like to change it to energy personalities to get rid of the labels. But however, E.T., then you have to work in the communication and the relationship and the energy exchange you're having with them, whether you see it as a past memory or a current. It's a similar process. It's a similar. I'm got to shut up on this one. I hope it's helped in any way at all.
Here, while you were saying it, and you'll appreciate my artwork. I did that like 2 years ago. Yeah. I just had this. I meditated, and that's what came to my mind.
Can I ask you? I can't see color on it. What color was it?
It was gray, black, gray. I kept filling it in more and more, and then I overdid it. But I mean, it was the head and the eyes were really what stood out to me, and the shape of the body and everything. But that just came to me while I was in a meditation one day. And it's like, I just woke up and I'm like, I have to draw this. I don't understand why, but I have to sketch it out. And I was just kind of just sketching away. And next thing you know, it's like,
I tell you, I love hearing things like this, because, you know, these guys are sods for doing this. I've got some guys in my group, and they go, and they come in, and we have a certain set. It's a private group, and they come in and go, I was in a meditation, and guess what? Out of nowhere come this gray, and I laugh because they can. You don't have to go. I mean, it's called contact modalities. I spoke about this on my live show yesterday with Les. They come in multiple different ways now, new ways of coming in. But they'll come in a way that is the gentlest to you, because until you're ready. So they'll introduce, and you've got free will. If you don't want to experience this, you say, no, thank you, I don't want to experience it. And I love it when they pop into meditations or they pop in the head. And I love it because they're just them introducing themselves. And I will just say, I've got to say this because it's coming in. I've said it on all my shows, but I do get asked of why is everyone seeing, especially the greys, you know, but there are mantis, there are reptilians, there are, I would suggest you change your perception of them and allow, or as Bashar says, give the permission slip to the highest frequencies, and you'll know by how your heart feels that it is unconditional love. Right. But if you've still got some fear base in there or something, you know, unknown, scary, you just got to do a bit of work, change your perception.
Right.
Because
I truly understand what you're saying, and that's a lot of the work I've been trying to do, unbeknownst to myself, you know, as far as the deep dive I've taken over the last 2-3 years into the Law of One, into Seth, into the Urantia book, and all these different channeled works. They're all leading me back to this central point and this central focus of compassion, forgiveness, and love. Even the idea of, if we want to go with the premise that the Orion entities are a negative fifth density, they're here to manipulate us. let's say that is the case.
Well, I'm going to jump in.
Glorious.
Gloria's back. Our soul's back. It's me now. It's me. I'm going to jump in. What you just stated is not my truth. That's someone else's belief.
Mm-hmm.
If it resonates with you at this moment, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I will shout this out on every show I'm on. I have never, ever, ever, ever experienced a negative energy personality, ever. I'm aware of, because I'm a psychic medium, so I talk to dead people. They don't like the word, but I have to say it. I'm aware of low vibration-y, they're stuck spirits. They're not negative. I'm aware of tricksters, interdimensional beings can be tricksters. It's part of the game. It's part. What at this point is through self-realization, it is not only to have the self-realization, the awareness of we are all one, humans. It's all, let's call it civilizations, are one with us. So if you can see and break down the judgment of polarity between you and your dad, you got to break down the polarity judgment of you and these energy personalities that you call ET. You've got to break that down too, because they are part of the collective. And there is a misconception that it's just Homo sapiens sapien. And this is happening now. This is what's happening now. So that's the work. It's the same tools. You've got excellent tools and you've used them well. You've gone through the program. You've really done it well. Just expand it out to these beings and to the experience you had. If you like the one that you do recall and the parts you recall, the alchemical words you're using is spell casting. I call it spell casting.
And I call them incantations.
Yeah, well, I call it, I teach how to spell cast in a positive. So the spell casting in the so-called negative in the game is, the conditionings to be controlled, saviors coming from out. So we have to change it, because at some point there will be no words, it will be telepathic. So it's working that way with this experience. I'm not going to give you any more on that because it keeps coming in.
No, what you've already given me is eye-opening, because that's where I've been. I'll explain. And I'm right there with you on this idea, this oneness with all of them, because we all are one with all of them. I've been programmed to believe, just like what we're going through for the last few years. We've all been programmed to believe that evil exists. How do we know evil if we don't experience the perception of it? How do we know love if we don't know hate? It's that whole experience of this duality we're living in. And for me, I've been able to get over the three-dimensional experience of this world. I've gotten to the point now where I see the compassion, the forgiveness, and the love in even the perception of evil, because it was a necessary part of us learning the process of finding that balance, right? And I feel like that's where I'm at with looking at ETs. And
brilliant. I mean, that is an excellent experience to be experiencing now. And I always have to watch my words, because let me go back from the juxtaposition coming from the identity. So it's easier, because this stuff's really sometimes too hard to explain, is
yes.
in our lifetime, in our experience now, this timeline, now, in our lifetime, and I'm not the only one has this truth. It's my truth. You don't have to resonate with it.
You're the only one here in all actuality.
Yeah, well, I know that, but just in case someone, don't send any hate mail, okay? Because I'll laugh. Well, any exposure is good exposure, I suppose. In our now, as I am becoming who I truly am. There's the becoming is coming now, not the, it's okay. Let me shift that along. In this timeline now, without linear time, but the moment in this now, I got to word this correctly. People have asked me constantly, and I know others have asked, when are they coming? Well, they're not coming from anywhere. They're already here. One, many experiences already have been we work with them. It's here. But for the collective of humans, when they've got, the whole point of this process now is to, the fear we spoke about, the scared, and all of that. You don't want that when it's en masse, because it's going to be in the collective timeline now. There's no date, but now, either the powers that illusionary rule the planet will tell you the truth. If they do not, they will just be here, right into the 3D reality. And many Homo sapiens playing the role would just be in such shock and trauma, like you just expressed.
Yeah.
That's why I said, could you not change your perception slightly?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. That's 100% rewriting the past experience, the belief in my trauma, to understanding that whatever has happened to me on that level, it's all happened to me in order to awaken and to know and understand that all is love and that they serve a purpose. And I had to experience whatever that was so that I could now share that with the world. I could now show potentially the world how to love, even after the physical trauma I've had in my 3-dimensional reality versus the extra dimensional realities that I've experienced with other entities that were only serving God's role.
There is only your world. Right. There is only your world. There is only
and until I'm ready to heal from that trauma, I can't open up that dimension. I can't. It's like the colors on you're an artist. It's the color spectrum. There's only 7 colors in our 3-dimensional realm, and then all the variations. There's how many countless actual colors out there that we just can't perceive because of our 3D abilities.
So let's go into 4th dimension. Hold on. Don't worry. I've got you for part 2 on, I think it's on, I booked you on Open Minds. Sunday the 24th of July. We'll be going for part 2 on this, but I'm going to pull this one in. I'm going to pull this one in now. And hopefully I haven't given away too much for my interview tomorrow. This, where we are now, how can I word this? There is only your world as you speak to me. Okay, there is only your world, and you're going a recognition. If I can do this work on my ET experience, which I've done on my human experiences to realize who I am, we're all in the process of self-realization. The interdimensional beings, or the energy personalities, or ET, or Arcturians, or Mantis, or Reptilian, or whatever you want to call them, whatever presses your button, they have self-realization. They're aware of who they are, but they're playing their role, and they're maturing, and they're evolving. And now the collective of this dream world, planet, civilization, it's so fucking hard to say this shit, are at the point now for that to occur. And if the work needs to be done with the experiencing now, once you've done the work on the deconstruction of your identity, or I'm not that, now this is a work that needs to be, and it needs to be done, let's say, super fucking quick. Super fucking quick.
Well, if we believe that time really exists, it only exists on this 3D realm we're in right
I know,
now.
but we can get. I'm trying to do it for the audience that, you know, not. Right. We're all on different lay-bys. Brandon Thomas said that to me. All on different lay-by. I've just stolen his analogy. No one's higher, no one's lower. No one knows more, no one knows left. We are all gods. Let's say that. We are all gods. Right. We're all playing the role in the theater. We've all we wrote, we directed, we scripted, we every single thing. Now is the time. We're coming in for our encore, okay? We need to step the fuck up. We really need to really say, okay, who am I? You don't need to know who you are. You just need to know what you're not. That's what you need to know. Who you are will come at its own. The beingness will go.
Heal yourself and the answers will start to come. Go within and the answers are there. Yeah.
And then you're ready to meet others. All right, I'm going to give one last analogy for anyone, not for you, love, but for anyone in the audience that's trying to get their head around the stuff that's coming out my mouth. Many decades ago, I married my ex-husband, and my ex-husband is black. And still in the UK, it was not acceptable. I could marry, but it wasn't acceptable. He was like an alien, okay? And how people perceived him, was fearful, because also he was an Arab. And of course, with all the belief systems in the world, you can imagine where that went. Now, obviously, you know, now everyone loves him, even though we're divorced. Everyone, do you see what I'm trying to say? When something comes into your reality, your experience, that is unknown to you, different, whether shape, form, color, language, it doesn't matter what it is. Your first instinct of the Homo sapiens sapien is to come with the fear response, predator fear response. That's in the beginning of creation. We're not going down that road now. That's what Homo sapiens sapien was like. And then obviously all the beings come in, the Anunnaki did that, blah, blah. So what I'm saying is, that's the analogy I give you for anyone that is starting to experience what you call ET, I call multidimensional beings or energy personalities without labels. That is the sort of pointers. I would not even advice. I don't like that word either. The time is now. Now. It's now. I always advise, but watch the skies. You wouldn't believe the amount of photographs that are coming out. Unbelievable. The contact is unbelievable. So if you want to expand this conversation for yourself or anyone else, take the deconstruction of the idea I have about myself and put that on the what you call ET, because you've got to watch other people's belief systems. I do my utmost, and I say, this is my truth. You don't believe me, please, because I don't want anyone to take mine and put it on their experience with an extraterrestrial or interdimensional, because I can't have their experience. Mine's from a different perception. I'm a different fractalization of the source. So I'm going to experience it differently, like the orange analogy. That should have shut up, Corey.
No, I agree. I completely agree with you. We're all experiencing our own individual and unique reality that we're creating. But in order, again, it goes back to the very beginning of this interview, this conversation. We're all here to learn how to consciously create through love. And how can we do that if we don't heal the perception of trauma from our physical identity, from our physical being? And then once we've hit that stage, once we've accomplished enough of that, we can start to move into the interdimensional healing that needs to be done. It's out there. We have we're eternal beings. We have memories since the beginning of eternity. We just don't remember them. So when we can go back to understanding and remembering that we've experienced every sort of fathomable trauma that could ever have happened, and we've experienced every sort of fathomable joy and pleasure that we could have ever happened. We just need to embrace all of that and go back to the one source, go back within, heal the misperceptions of what we think we are, because we are gods. We're all gods here playing with amongst each other, and we just forget that. That's the whole role. That's our purpose here. And once we remember it, and enough people,
are the interdimensional, so are the ET. So it's part of, they are part of our 3D experience that we're playing.
Right.
They're not external. They're not outside. There is nothing outside. If all that is within this experience, this play, is part of it. So the same process for Homo sapiens sapien, your mother, your father, your son, your neighbor, there's someone you divorced, someone, and it's the same. I have it with the spirit world. I've never had an issue with the spirit world, but I'm just saying there are still people that are scared of what we call ghosts because they don't understand, or they still have a belief system that's wrong. So it's about this where, consciousness. I don't like labels or levels, or I don't really like dimensions. Consciousness is at its now point, 0 point.
Mm-hmm.
It's at its 0 point. And this is the time to take, again, I'll repeat it last time, the work you've done or the idea you have about yourself through self-realization, the stories you've told about your very rarely do I share an experience with the contacts. There's too numerous, but unless it's in the context of something, it's relevant to the conversation what I share, because it's just another one of my experiences. It is no big deal. The big deal is, what did that interaction with that contact do to my consciousness, to my expansion?
What was the lesson you learned from that experience? That's all it's about.
Nuts and bolts, and it's irrelevant because contact modality now is so shifted. It's not about, were they grays, were they this, were they... No, how did that affect me? How did that assist me on my spiritual journey to my becoming, as Brandon Thomas says, a greater version ever of myself, the being? That's the most important thing. It is from any interaction, or I said I wouldn't fucking talk, didn't I? But it's just not stopping now. Any interaction you have with, even with me and you, I'm expanding, you're expanding. But the whole situation now is that our sisters and brothers of other civilizations, that we got them, wherever they are. It could be in Peru, could be in that dimension. It doesn't really matter. It's all part of this collective. It is an egotistic concept to have a belief that just us humans are the most evolved and we're going to enlighten ourselves and we are good. That's ego.
That's laughable in and of itself. We're like because the least involved out of any of them.
Yeah, if you interact with these beings, I mean, you're in awe at their room, and then they let you realize, hey, you're me, and you go, I'm that. So I'm going to chat to you tomorrow on your show about this if you want.
Yes, I'd like to go deep into your experiences and knowledge of it for sure.
I held back, but in the end, they kept coming in. I was going, I'm back to Gloria now. I can be an arsehole if you want me to. It's quite easy.
Whatever suits you.
I have had, it was very hard to keep quiet, but I did it for you because, I really, it's your show tomorrow. And I want you to organically go in and ask questions that I don't know what's coming, and that I wouldn't give some away today. And maybe I have in the end. I couldn't stop. I love what you do, Joey. I love the humility that you've carried along the way, and to see another being go, I fucked up, I fucked up, I fucked up, oh shit, I got that wrong. And that's how it should be. I love that. And I love how you motivate others. Yes, not everyone is quite at a certain point, and they're just learning to motivate themselves, to have good thoughts about themselves. That's their choice to come in and do that. And many of, as you rightly stated, have trauma. I love what you do. And I always say, you're not talking out your backside, because you've been through the trauma and you've worked through the trauma. So respect and kudos to you for what you do in your part of this. I gotta be cautious because I'm hot as fuck. They're all around me, and I gotta pull it back in because I'm not going on any longer. I need to thank you so much, and I look forward to me being recorded on your show tomorrow, but more so when I get you onto Open Minds in July. We will go down another rabbit hole. But before we close this one, sweetie, let the audience, whether they're going to watch live or replay when they catch up, how can they get hold of you?
Yes, thank you so much. First things first, thank you for having me on your show, for hearing my story, my journey, for everything that you do. We're each here helping awaken people to this ascension that we're on, to this new reality we're creating, and it takes all of us. And we're at critical mass. You said it best. We have to do this fucking quick. Yes, we are at critical mass. We're at a pivotal point in our evolution. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep doing what I do. I'm trying to resonate. As you can see, I can go as deep as we want to go on any topic, but and that's what I love doing. But honestly, I have to, in order to help as many people as I can, I have to start at the beginning with it.
Of course
I have
you
to
do,
keep things simple. I have to help people rewrite the traumas of their past and keep it on that level. Now, if you want to work with me, if you want to dive into rewriting the traumas of your past, I'm going to take you down the quantum rabbit hole. I'm going to make you realize and help you realize that you are the only one here creating everything. And everything is just a lie, a bullshit illusion that you think you're living in. It's all about controlling our mind, our thoughts, our energy, where we direct it at, and how we go about our day in the present moment. And if I can break that down simply for people, then I'm doing my part here. So,
oh my God, all the links are below on the YouTube channel. However, throw out some links verbally. Where can they get hold of you?
If you want to find more about what I do, check out YouTube at the Reality Practice Network. Basically, if you type into Google Reality Practice Network, My Reality Practice, any of those combinations, you're going to find me. I've got a Facebook group, private group. I've got a Facebook page. I'm on Truth Social. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, Rumble. I'm everywhere. Just type in Reality Practice or Reality Practice Network, and you will find my work. Subscribe to my channel. It's got so many mind-blowing, amazing shows on there. I'm coming out with new ones all the time, but yeah, it's awesome. And then if you want to work with me one-on-one, I'll also have some packages coming out, some different coaching courses over the next few months coming out. But if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can just reach out to me through my website, myrealitypractice.com, and do a 30-minute discovery call and see if we're a good fit. I work with everybody on every range of the spectrum here. Do I love working with people that are already deep into it? Yes. Do I love working with people that have no idea that their thoughts even do anything to them? Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at on it. I love being able to give through my experiences. And as I'm continuing to unlock new experiences, it's a day by day, it's a never ending evolution. And I think that's what everybody needs to understand. You said it best. You're no better. I'm no better. I'm no more advanced. I'm no more behind. I'm exactly where I need to be at this moment in time. And I will never continue. I will never stop getting better. I will never stop unlocking new traumas, new things that I didn't know existed, because after all, we've got an eternity worth of traumas to recover
we're
from.
We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. We're going to chat next time.
Yes.
Again, thank you so much. As I said, guys, below are all the links, Facebook, and to everyone who's watching the show live or will watch it on the replay, whatever resonates with you, please take it with you and do your own personal research. If it doesn't resonate with you, just put it to one side, okay? I'm Gloria. This is Inception Podcast. Until the next time we talk, thank you. Bye, guys.